everyone. Bonjour à tous. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Before we begin, please note that this press conference includes simultaneous and sign language interpretation services. It's available either in full French or full English. If you're watching live, you can find our stream in each language on YouTube. Simply search our channels at City of Ottawa or Ville d'Ottawa. A note to media outlets joining us on Zoom, if you would like audio interpretation, click the interpretation globe icon in the bottom menu, then select your preferred language. You can ask your questions in the language of your choice. Today, we will be hearing remarks from Renee Elmakar, General Manager, Transit Services Department. Available to answer questions from the media, we also have Councillor Glenn Gower, Chair of the Transit Commission, Richard Holder, Director, Engineering Services, Troy Charter, Director, Transit Service Delivery and Rail Operations, Rami Alfagali, Manager, Customer Service, Nicolas Truchon, Chief Executive Officer, Rideau Transit Group, and Enrique Martinez Asencio, General Manager, Rideau Transit Maintenance. This time, I would like to invite Renee Elmakar, General Manager, Transit Services, to say a few words.
Merci beaucoup, Kendra. Good afternoon, everyone. Bon après-midi à tous et merci pour votre présence.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you for being so faithful.
The ongoing work to meet all the parameters of the safety note from RTG and Alstom. First, I want to share with our customers what we are doing to increase the accessibility of errand service. Based on customers' feedback, we continue to enhance our errand service. Today, Errand Parabus service was implemented to provide additional transit options for Transpo customers and customers who may require accessible service. Errand Para will service Line 1 stations between Tunis Pasteur and Blair stations. Customer can book this service the same day by calling 613-560-5000 or speak to one of our outreach staff at the stations. I want to remind customers that our entire fleet is accessible and Errand Para is in addition to the Para Transpo service. We will continue to listen to feedback from customers and will adjust service where possible. C'est un autre signe qui démontre hors de tout doute comment OC Transpo est allé.
This shows that OC Transpo went too quickly, but we are very reactive and will be also work on our proactivity.
Needed to safely resume service. First, work continues to replace the wheel hub assemblies. RTG has now changed the assemblies on 15 light rail vehicles. This work is important to increase the number of vehicles we will have available once Line 1 service resumes. Our team is proactively preparing a service plan based on the projected number of vehicles that may be available. At the same time, RTG and Alstom are working on the remaining requirement, which is to ensure that there is no contact between the wheel and the restraining rail. RTG has hired Atkins Global, who will make recommendations to reposition the restraining rails. Atkins will provide information on each of the restraining rail locations. They will outline the risk profile associated with the repositioning of each of the restraining rails, which restraining rails should be repositioned, and the amount each restraining rail needs to be moved to avoid contact with the wheels of the light rail vehicle. In parallel, work are ongoing to finalize the risk assessment. We expect to receive the Atkins report tomorrow, as previous. Once the information on the restraining rail repositioning is received and final, RTG will be able to begin the work. Adjusting the restraining rails is a labor-intensive, precise process, and it may take up to 10 days to complete. OC Transpo and RTG are working in parallel to start trial running of trains in sections of the line. Once all of the restraining rails have been repositioned, OC Transpo will conduct final trial running. This allows us to ensure that all train systems are functioning properly and we are ready to welcome back customers. At this time, we estimate that the gradual return to service may begin as early as August 14th. This is still a preliminary date, and I hope to provide more details tomorrow. I want to thank our customers for their ongoing patience. Je veux remercier encore une fois les usagers pour leur patience.
I want to thank our customers for their ongoing patience. You speak and we listen to you. We understand the sacrifices that you are accepting to do, but this is about your security and your safety. So there's no compromise about that.
We have heard you. We know this is a daily struggle. We are monitoring our bus service and will make adjustments where possible to improve your trips. The entire team at OC Transpo, RTG, and Alstom are working hard to ensure that our LRT system is no longer plagued by this bearing issue. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I will now invite each media agency to ask their questions. You may ask one question with a follow-up. We'll now start with Ben Andrews at CBC Ottawa.
Hi there. Regarding the announcement today of R1 para service, where are those buses going to be coming from? Are they going to be pulled from para Transpo routes? Where are we getting those buses?
Thank you for the question. Rami is here and he will answer this question, please.
Thank you for your question. We are not using existing resources. We're using additional resources that are being called upon to support para R1, and therefore we won't have any impact on the current para Transpo service.
Okay, thank you. And we're hearing positive feedback about the current R1 Express service. When all this is said and done, will you continue to offer that service?
I can offer this shuttle now because RTG cannot deliver the service, so we don't pay them. And I hope RTG will be able to deliver the service, so I won't have money. But we are here to hear our customers, and we'll see what can be done. But for now, for sure, I'm very happy that customers appreciate this service, and we are very lucky to have this opportunity, and we'll continue to work to resume the service and to bring back the LRT.
Thank you. We'll now go to Ted Raymond at CTV Ottawa.
Hi there. My first question, I'd like to hear from both Renee Amilcar and from Councillor Gower. With regard to the compensation question, I know we've been hammering this a lot lately, and it's fairly well trodden, but I'd like to hear what you have to say to riders who are questioning whether it's worth paying the $125 a month for bus pass this month or possibly next month. What is your comment to them who are concerned that the service, for half of the month the LRT isn't going to be available? Why should they pay for it? Can you talk to them?
Chair, would you like to go first?
Well, I can. First of all, as Renee's mentioned, we are committed to doing everything we can to improve that R1 service and make sure that if there's any opportunity to improve the frequency of the R1 buses, the speed of the R1 buses, whether it's for OC Transpo or for para customers, there's a commitment to do that. And I'll say again, we have been discussing with the mayor's office, with other city councilors, what opportunities there might be around compensation. We've had a lot of feedback over the past few days from riders as well, and it's been feedback anything from free transit for a period, but we've also heard from people saying, well, if there's any money that is available, invest that in better transit service, whether it's buses or otherwise. So we're looking at all the options and listening to feedback from customers to decide what's best to do. We can't make a decision until we have all the accounting in front of us as well. So that's something we're still waiting on, especially for the cost of the additional R1 service, the overtime, the customer service agents. It's a complicated question, but we need to get all that information before we can make a decision.
Everything has been said. Thank you, Chair.
All right, appreciate it. My next question, I believe, is probably for Mr. Truchon. With regard to the replacement of the axles, it seems like things have kind of slowed down a bit. Last week it seems like you got a lot more done. This week, yesterday you said 14 trains, today just 15. Is there something holding up the process of replacing these axles on the vehicles?
Not really. Obviously, it's a very complicated process that needs to be followed with strict quality procedures. We certainly do not want to repeat some of the errors that have been made in the past. So we have capacity at the MSF to process a number of vehicles, and also at the same time, we need to make sure that we keep the fleet in the readiness state to restart service. So yes, we're dedicating all the resources available to continue to grow the fleet count, and we expect that the fleet count will continue to grow over the coming days. But it's not a process where we replace 2 axles per day. In fact, it's more something along the lines of 2 every second day.
Thank you. We'll go to Joanne Lashes at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, I was wondering if you have any numbers on ridership that compares ridership to the same time period last year or to the same time period pre-pandemic.
Thank you very much for the question. So in 2 weeks, I will be able to have the ridership for July, and I will share that with counselors, and we'll make it available for you for sure.
Okay, thank you.
Joanne, do you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay, thank you. Nous allons maintenant à Jean-Sébastien Marié à Radio.
Jean-Sébastien Marié, Radio-Canada. Thank you indeed. I'd like to clarify one point. There had been the assumption of adding some lubricant. Could you please explain what the next steps will be as far as adding lubricant is concerned? What will be the operations like? And it is a precondition for reopening. Thank you for the question. The lubrication of the rails will take place in a second phase, and it will require a few weeks or a few months because it is a very sophisticated operation, and it is not an obligation. This is something which is done on top the other operations. Thank you. Second question. You did mention how much transparency is important for your daily press availability. However, you did not allow us to come and look at your facilities, whereas we would like to have pictures of your facilities. So will you guarantee that in the name of transparency, you will give us access to your facilities in the field, especially regarding the containment rail? Well, you should know that this is a public-private partnership that we have, and so the premises are private. They do not belong to OC Transpo. Secondly, I hope you understand that we want to have the work move forward as quickly as possible in order to get back to a good and safe service. So any constraints that might change the routine of the workers and will be closely monitored, because people always tell us, oh, how come you have you're late, for instance, in the recent example of a question that was posed. So everybody wants the operation to succeed, and we do our best to answer your questions. And you have a specific requirement, you can get in touch with our communication service. However, at the moment, I am not giving access to the facilities, and I do not want either to have any other distraction. Yeah, but this is taxpayers' money that you're using, so you should be accountable, because it is, and maybe Enrique Martinez might be able to answer the question, because people did pay for such facilities, so people will want to have some kind of confirmation of your statements. No, I do not want people at work to be distracted because I want deadlines to be kept.
Concrètement, pour l'instant, on
Well,
travaille.
Practically speaking,
Retour au service.
we have a rotation of workers and they work shifts without interruption. So we do not need to have people in the area to take pictures or start filming in the field. So it's not a lack of goodwill. It's just that that access to other people is difficult to organize. Thank you.
You may raise your hand using the raise hand function, and we will go to a second round. Ted Raymond.
Hi, yeah, I'm just wondering if we could get that last response in English from the Jean Sebastien's question about having media access to the work that's being done so we can take video and pictures.
Nicolas, tu veux y aller?
With pleasure.
Yes, yeah.
Right now, effectively, we're working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're throwing everything we have to resume service as quickly and as efficiently and safely. For the time being, a distraction of entertaining media visits to the MSF is not something that would seem counterproductive to the common goal that we have with our client to resume service. This being said, if there are any specific image requests, as I believe Renee suggested, please send the request across to OC Transpo on the communication side, and we'll see what we can provide. But in terms of right now, we want to stay away from any distraction that would take us away from the goal.
And if I may just ask one more question very quickly, is there a reason why these news conferences are still virtual at this point? Is there any possibility that we could have some in-person conferences coming up?
Sure, it's a fair question, and we are very, very a small team, and I think you want to hear from us, and we're very, very busy. Definitively, by having those press conference virtually, it's we economize a lot of time, and it's good time because we can after that work with the Alstom experts to bring back the service. But I'm hearing you, and we can see what we can do. Maybe once a week, and maybe we can do it in person. But it's not sustainable for us to have in person daily. It's not sustainable for me, definitively not. And my experts will not be able to accompany me to answer to your question. So we will need to tell you, okay, we'll come back to you. I think you prefer to have answer immediately. And so we can work on that for sure. As I said, maybe once a week, but not daily.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll go to Joanne Lashes at the Ottawa Citizen.
Hi, I have a question for Madame Amilcar and Councillor Gower. The $39 million deficit in the transit budget, how is this going to affect whatever flexibility you have in terms of offering people compensation for their frustration and their more time spent in transit?
Chair?
Well, ultimately, any decision around compensation, if it involves money, is a responsibility of Ottawa City Council. And as a municipal government, we cannot run a deficit. We cannot overspend. We're already projecting at least a $39 million deficit. We have requests into other levels of government to help us cover that deficit. We would need to find a source of revenue elsewhere. Our reserves are rather low right now due to last year's deficit and this year's deficit. Anyhow, it's just our transit budget, like every other city in Canada, is under a lot of pressure right now. So we need to be cognizant of where any money comes from.
And a follow-up question, can you tell me, or are some figures coming up in terms of how the events of the last 2 weeks are going to affect that deficit?
Yes, absolutely. It's something that that I've asked for, and I think the mayor's office as well, in terms of an accounting of what all the costs are involved in this. And it's, I think, as Madame Amilcar has mentioned either today or previously, it's information that they're assembling for us.
Yeah, I'm working on it with my team. Yeah.
Thank you.
Last but not least, we'll go to Ben Andrews.
Hi, I'd just like to revisit my paratranspo question from earlier on. So the answer was that it wasn't going to draw from existing resources, but in that case, where is it drawing from? Where are those buses coming from?
Amy, are you good to go or?
Yes, thank you for the question. When referring to resources, it's not just the buses. We also include operators and their time. So we're using additional sources that were not originally scheduled, or that's usually using overtime to support this initiative. Thank you.
Okay, a follow-up to that then is, so I mean, which buses are they that are being put on this route?
Yeah, okay, I can take it. So normally we offer the paratranspo with the people who will book the day before, so we can maximize our we can optimize our operation. When we accept daily booking as we propose, it's not optimal, so that costs us a little bit more. But because we want to accommodate people with disabilities who would like to travel the same day and who didn't book their trip with paratransport the day before, so we can do it now because it's for a short period of time. But it's not sustainable to do that regularly because that will cost a lot of money, and we don't have this money. Your colleague just said that we have a shortfall for this year of 39 million, and so it's not sustainable for us to offer that.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Well, this concludes our media availability this afternoon. Have a great rest of the day. Thank you. Merci.
Thank you.